Okay, so you're all very welcome to today's Careers Café, and the title of today's session is Overcoming Job Search Fatigue. So what we're going to do today is just discuss the experiences of job search and really just how challenging that can be, whether you're looking for an internship, whether you're looking for a placement or a graduate job. And our guest speakers today have been through all of this before, okay, and we do have a really good range of speakers as well. So hopefully there'll be something here for everyone. So with us today we have Abigail Chambers, we have Catherine Boyle, Deneen White, and Niall McKeown. Now I'm not going to do introductions. I'm going to let them do it themselves when we get started. But as I say, please feel free to ask any questions. Just put your hand up if you want to speak through your microphone, or use the chat box if you need to. Okay, so if I could just ask all of our guests, or all of our students, maybe to keep yourselves on mute just as we go through today's session, and then that just avoids any interference. And I'm going to take away the slides so that you can see our speakers as they're talking to you. Okay, so I'm going to go through everybody in turn, and the first question really is just asking you to introduce yourselves. Okay, so just a brief overview of who you are, what you've been doing, whether it's been placement or graduate jobs, and just let our students have a wee feel for your journey so far. Okay, so we'll maybe start with Abigail, if you're with us. Yeah.
Yes, I'm on two things. I'm on my phone, on my laptop, and we'll see what works best. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can indeed, yes.
No, that's grand. So I'm just overcapping kind of what I'm doing at the minute. Yeah. So as Laura was saying, thank you very much. My name's Abigail. I went to Ulster from 2018 to 2021. I studied law with criminology, so that was a major and minor course. I then obviously graduated during COVID, and yeah, had an absolute not joy of a time trying to find a job. Had no experience due to COVID and stuff. Had Kathy tortured, God love her, and a lot of other people just trying to get somewhere. Started as a legal secretary in Macfelt, and then after 6 months there, I was applying for training contracts as well, and I had already tried for a training contract, passed the exam, but I couldn't get the contract because I had no experience. So it's a roundabout circle. Second time I was lucky enough, and I'm now with Evershed Sutherland in Belfast. They're an international law firm. Starting to grow a wee bit more here as well, but I would predominantly work in real estate. And am I losing myself? No, I'm not. But as anyone knows me, I hated land law, and that's what I work in now. So the thing I want everyone to take kind of from today is give something a chance that you think you might not like. So that was a quick one for me.
That's brilliant. Thanks so much. So you've had quite a big journey up to this point, and still so young.
Yeah, lots of confidence setbacks, but sure, it's all meant to be. But whenever you're in it at that time, it's not funny at all. So yeah, I do. The resilience is a big thing.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much, Abigail. We'll move on to Catherine. She's still with us.
Hello, sorry.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah. My name's Catherine Boyle, and I done a bit of a jump. So I started in 2015 in McGee doing mechanical and manufacturing engineering. Was meant to be an M-Eng, then it was cut down to a B-Eng, but I wanted the M-Eng, so then finished off my last 2 years in Jordanstown with a straight mechanical. And I graduated in 2020, so similar to Abigail, know the pain of those COVID times. And I'm now a project stress engineer it used to be called Williams Advanced Engineering. It's now just WAE, but it was the technical offshoot of the Williams F1 team. We've been bought over in a couple of different things now, but yeah, I'm a project stress engineer there, running projects for different motorsport groups and different vehicle groups. Have to admit, my graduate position was quite easy to get because I got offered it rather than applying to anything, but I had to go through the whole process of applying for the placement, and because I'd done it in placement, actually got a placement job I hated but liked the company. Went through the whole of that, and yeah, got offered a grad job. So I've been here now 2.5 years. So yeah, really quick overview of me.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much, Catherine. And again, you've been been through it all, placement and graduate job search. So it's great to have
Yes.
you here to share those experiences. Brilliant. We'll move on to Deneen.
Hello, so I'm actually still in Ulster. I'm in my final year. So for my placement year, I kind of was the same as you the girls. I had to find a placement when I went during the COVID period, and I do events management. So you can kind of guess how hard it was to find some events going to take part in. So there wasn't a lot of opportunities. So I really struggled, and I really wanted to do festival management. So you can nearly see again how difficult that would be. So I kind of had to give up on that idea and look at different roles that I could possibly take part in, and nothing really stuck out to me. Nothing really sounded like a good way to spend my year. And then Ulster was offering an opportunity called EPY, so it was enterprise placement year. So I actually started up my own business with the help of Ulster. So they give you financial aid and mentoring services for a year. And I completely set up my own business. It's called Southside. I sell vintage clothing. So moving on to this year, I'm now applying for grad jobs. Everything's kind of opened back up again, and it kind of changed what I wanted to do because of COVID. Originally, I wanted to work in festivals and things like that, as I said, but because of the insecurity of COVID, it kind of made me realize no, I would prefer a job that's more secure. So I started looking at more corporate jobs, which again, I was like, I'm never doing corporate, but started looking at corporate, found really cool, interesting companies, and I've now got a grad job secured for First Derivatives in their operations team. So I'm really looking forward to all the new adventures that start with that. So yeah, that's where I'm going now.
That's brilliant. And again, you've had so much experience there as well. And, even the challenge of COVID and you having to readjust what it was that you wanted to do and starting up your own business, that's very challenging. So that's great. And then you've obviously got your graduate job. So congratulations on that. That's brilliant. Thank you. And we'll move on to Niall then as well.
Hello, my name's Niall, and I joined Ulster in 2020. So I joined Ulster in the height of like COVID. So that was like a big change for me. I study interactive media at Coleraine campus. I love it there, and I'm currently in my placement year at Ulster University Belfast with the marketing team, and I really enjoy it. I came into my placement only this month, so it was like a late placement from like you'd usually start in September, but I really enjoy it there, and yeah, that's mainly how I came to be.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much, Niall. And although you haven't gone through placement and graduate at this point, I think you do have, getting that late placement. I think you're going to have some really good tips to give our students who are on the call with us today as well. Okay, so thanks very much, everybody, for introducing yourselves. And then that just leads me into my next question. So everybody has different experiences, whether or not it was placement search or EPY or moving on to the graduate job search. In your own words, could you describe how you found that experience? Was it stressful? Did you find it easy? Did it take a long time to find those opportunities, or did you manage? Were you quick enough to get that and get that stress out of the way? So we'll reverse the roles this time, so we're not always picking on Abigail first. So maybe now we'll go back with you, and you can just tell us about your experience.
Well, yeah, because I got my placement only this month, basically, we were meant to start looking for placement in like second year mainly, but like I just didn't even bother trying really because I was like, I didn't think I was even gonna try and get it because I didn't think I'd like actually get placement because I just didn't think I would be like worth enough to like a company because like I never had like a job before. Like I never worked in like a retail job or like a part-time job before. So I was like, what's the point? Like I don't even have experience from like a normal job. So all my friends got one. My friend Aoife got one at Ulster, and my friend Sarah got one for Ulster GAA, and they loved their placements. And I was like, well, I may as well give it a go, try to look for placements now, even though it might be a bit late. So my friend Aoife sent me one for Ulster because she worked there, and she said this would be like a great placement for you. So I tried to apply for it, and the Ulster team for careers and employability gave me like a lot of help to like try and get the placement. So they like tailored my CV. They like took me into like Teams calls to try and like build up my portfolio and stuff like that, and they really helped me get the placement within Ulster.
That's great. So that was the only placement you applied for then, and you were successful, is that right?
No, I've tried a lot
No.
more placements.
I was going to say
Uh,
you
yeah,
applied for other ones as well then.
yeah, but they
Yeah.
were like there were ones I wasn't really that interested in. So,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
like I really am interested in this one I'm in now.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Niall. And Deneen, I know you'd already said about the stresses of COVID and having to change your plan. So maybe, maybe for your graduate job search, have you spent a long time doing that before you managed to get one?
Yeah. Well, even in my placement, I really struggled and really felt a lot of stress through not being able to find a placement that first interested me, and then also that that would take me on, and every knock can feel really, it can feel like a blow, and it's really not well, I would say maybe nearly it's overwhelming because you feel this pressure in placement that you only have this period of time to get one sorted. And if you don't, what are you going to do? And then the same with the grad job. I kind of felt like I'm one of these people. Obviously, I do event management, so it probably ties in somewhere there. But I have to know the next step. I always have to know the next plan. And it really stressed me out that I didn't know what I was going to be doing next year. So in from in placement, I kind of left it to second semester to start looking for a job. Whereas because I was like, oh, I don't really want to worry about it because it's so much to stress about. Whereas um this year I really was all like, no, I'm gonna really focus on it in first semester. But the same can be applied to second semester, and just really focus and trying and get somewhere. And honestly, I don't think I ever annoyed a poor woman so much. Donna, up in Korean, I was never out of her office. I think she was nearly glad that I did get a grad job as quick as it did, just to leave her alone. But yes, honestly, use the services that are available to you because they are so helpful and they want what you want. So definitely utilize those services. Um, and yeah, I really struggled to apply for different places. Like I'm still getting applications coming through saying, sorry, you didn't make the post. And I'm like, don't mind, I've got one now. But you just have to literally apply for everywhere. And then hopefully you'll be lucky with a couple, or maybe all you need is just the one.
That's great. There's a wee message there.
Yeah.
So Lena there is really relating to your story about not knowing about the next step. So that's great. It's brilliant. And Donna speaks very highly of you, so don't worry, you didn't torture her too much. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. And Catherine, we'll go to you next for this one.
Sure. It's actually 6 years ago last week that I had my interview for here. So that made me think all these lovely feelings of going through placement search. So yeah, because I got offered a graduate job about 15 months before I actually started, I must admit that was actually a very stress-free experience for me. Placement, however, yes, was a different sort. So I was determined to go to England for placement. Don't know why, but I was absolutely determined. And linking into that, then I was determined to get a job in F1 in motorsport. And what I noticed about England applications, and particularly those high-end motorsport, I think I applied to Rolls-Royce and Airbus and this thing as well. They are extraordinarily early on in the year. So Freshers Week, I was writing my CV and applying to placements. And like everyone else said, so I know in my year we had Wednesday afternoons, we had classes about how to apply for placements and how to do your CV, but they were all coming too late for me to do it. So I went direct to the careers help, and my lecturers, actually, even just my mechanical engineer lecturers, for help, and they were great, like absolutely fantastic. But like the rest of the guys here, I probably applied to 60, 70 placement jobs. And I actually remember, I even thinking about this, like, brings a skip to my heart. It's heart palpitation. More like applying for that first one was terrifying. It actually was terrifying. But then it got easier because you were doing it every day. And like the other ones that guys said as well, like, yeah, those rejections can hit you harder than you might think, especially when you get them constantly. That's why you just apply for more, because then you just, you're increasing your chances of at least getting one to reply and say yes. And I was the same. I started, I think in the July, and I was still getting rejection emails from other companies. So yeah, it is a long, hard old slog to get one, but well worth it.
That's
Definitely
great.
well worth it.
Brilliant, thank you, Catherine. So yeah, I think the common theme here is that it's hard work trying to get placement or graduate opportunities. That's brilliant. And Abigail?
Yeah, I just kind of echo what everyone else said. Like, for me, I think Catherine put it aptly. Like, it is a slog. But one thing I will say is, like, no one really talks about like the post-graduation blues of like not knowing what to do, who you are. You're just working towards like a set of deadlines, and then you're like, oh my goodness, I have to apply for jobs, and you're flat out, flat out, flat out. If I was to do it again, I'd be like, Abigail, take a breather. Maybe go and do something you like to do for a month and then get back to it. But as I say, you just kind of have to persevere, and that's the reason why we're having the talk today is the resilience. Like, I remember, I think I applied to every law firm around Mid Ulster and all the big ones in Belfast as well. My friend was applying to the big ones in Belfast as well, and at the start we used to get the rejection emails, and you used to think, oh, well, I'm just useless. And then after a while, you're like, right, okay, you read over it again, you're like, right, well, that wasn't the best application. How can I make it better? And I do think that from what I take from it is like any experience is great. Like, I didn't even know how to scan something whenever I first graduated. Like, the basics of the basics. And like whenever I joined my place in Macclesfield, it was just a wee local firm, but it was a great experience. I learned how to talk to people, and like I would never have applied for that job. So I think it's just like setting your like expectations to be realistic. And even if you have to go to a job you really want to for 6 months, get in, do the work, get the experience, and it makes your applications so much more easier to write. Like, I found myself, I wasn't, as you would call it, bluffing now during the applications. You were like, right, I did such and such, and that meant such and such, and then the employer was able, who was interviewing you, was able to bounce off that more. So that's what I found. But yeah, in conclusion, it is disheartening. You will get plenty of knockbacks. You just have to learn to, after the first 20, 30, you have to have a laugh about it. Otherwise, you'll let it consume you. So keep going is what I have to say.
That's great, thank you, Abigail. And my next question, I was going to ask about, what steps you took for your graduate or placement searches, but I think we've sort of covered that a wee bit in some of the answers that you've already given. But maybe my next question would be, what would be the most valuable resource that you used for your job search? And we'll start maybe with Catherine this time.
Sorry, caught me off guard there. Yes, one I find very well, because I knew I wanted to apply for Formula One teams. It was direct to their websites. So there was 8 companies straight away. I knew I went to apply for. But outside of that, I found, I hope I get this right, and that they haven't changed the name, Grad Cracker. I found really useful for placement. So I'm not sure how it is for other subjects, but I know for engineering it was so useful because it filtered through exactly what you wanted, and find it really useful. Another one that I got into too late, so it didn't help me, but I can see when I got my placement, so I got accepted in January. LinkedIn, oh my gosh, that is invaluable. And I know people, like, even now I get job offers, not even interviews, job offers for jobs on LinkedIn. So those were the two I found for me that were very helpful, as well as if you have a specific company in mind, obviously you can go direct to their website. But if you don't know what you're looking for, or you don't know companies' names, or smaller mid-sized companies, a website like Grad Cracker has everything in one useful little spot for you to filter through and search for.
That's brilliant, thank you. And I can see Kathy, my colleague, has just put in the chat box the link to the Grad Cracker website. So for anybody who's doing sort of STEM subjects, that would be a really good tool. And yes, LinkedIn as well. So that's really brilliant. We'll move on to maybe Abigail.
Yep, so mine's a wee bit different from Catherine's. I kind of came to LinkedIn more so near the end of my job search. Before the legal sector, it's a wee bit more harder to find things. Some of the firms, as you say, just post and then you can't see them until it's too late. What I found really beneficial was Honeycomb and Abacus, so they're actually job recruiters. But there was one lady in particular in Honeycomb, she was called Rachel. I now follow her on LinkedIn and we still have the odd chat. But she was able to get me my job that wasn't advertised anywhere. It was just the client who came to her, and I just did a simple interview with them. And after all of my countless applications, she was able to get my foot in the door, and she actually was able to negotiate me a higher salary than what a graduate would have got. So I have to say they do kind of the heavy lifting for you as well, and get your foot in, and then it just is yourself that sells it. So I have to say Honeycomb was great. In relation to any other law stuff, Law Society, if you follow them on Facebook and LinkedIn, they also post any of the legal secretary, legal executive, which is basically the same thing as a paralegal as well, and then trainee roles, so they're very good as well. And then obviously then LinkedIn as well is great, kind of near the end of definitely graduation as such placement. I wouldn't say as much for the legal stuff. But just a job plug mine. There is ever since some of the who I work with, if there is anyone who watches this interested in legal stuff, we have a summer internship coming up. The application closes now in the 8th of February. Good experience just to get your foot in the door. I think it is a paid internship, and just to get that bit of experience, because that's what I lacked, and that's why I had to rely so heavily on the others. So I'll stop blabbing, promise.
No, you're okay. And Kathy's typing away frantically. Thanks so much, Kathy. So all the stuff that Abigail's just been talking about, there's a few links in there for Law Society, and looks like the little internship opportunity as well. So I think what Abigail's saying there is really true too, that if you can get any type of experience, it really does help them whenever you go to apply for even placement or on towards graduate jobs. So that's great, talking about the summer internships there as well. Let's see, Deneen.
So with my grad job, I actually applied for placement. So I did, and so I would say apply for anything that relates to your degree, because I did that and did the first interview, and at the end of the first interview, she goes, well, we actually have a really good graduate program that hasn't been released yet, and I feel like you would be well suited to it. Then for my second interview that I had for the company, they told me that there was actually 2 grad jobs that they were between giving me, and they're now deciding which of the 2 that they're going to give me. So I was like, I'll be happy with either. But yeah, so what I would suggest is apply for anything, especially if it's a company that you want to work for or has something to do that you want to work in, even if it is a placement, because you could end up going in the interview and find out that there is other available areas. Now, I wouldn't say if you're doing events and you apply for something at all, that's not going to work. But if you apply for something that has relation, like I applied for a HR role, and now I'm going on into an operations role. So it all fits in. Another thing that I would say is really utilize the help that the university offers you. Like, I couldn't speak more highly of it. Obviously last year with my placement, it was all through the careers team with Jackie Smith, and Seamus. And honestly, I couldn't fault their support. And then same with Donna this year, like, it's just really been amazing. So definitely utilize that. They have so many skill programs, and they'll look through your CV for you, because mine wasn't the best when I first did mine, even though I thought it was all right. So definitely do all those there things as well. But yeah, in our course, I don't know about other people's course, it's compulsory to have LinkedIn, so we have to have it and post regularly on it. But yeah, I didn't really use that as much as maybe I could have, but I really found just applying for anything that relates and the careers.
That's brilliant, thank you, and thanks for your your nice words about our department. But yeah, just letting you all know that we're most definitely here to support you with your job search. So if you do need, as Danina said there, if you need your CV looked over, or if you need some help to find some of those opportunities, I've just put into the chat box the link for Handshake again, so you'll be able to do a job search there, but you can also book appointments to speak to your local employability advisor as well, just on whatever campus you're at. Okay, so hopefully that will help. And Niall, sorry, we're going on to you now for this one. So just talking about, what was the best resource that you used for your job search?
Well, I was mainly looking for placement, so I mainly used like Handshake. Handshake was like the best thing for like placement, because like all my friends got it through Handshake. But like because I did interactive media, like there's so many subjects there that you can go through. There's like film, graphic design, like VR experiences like that, web design, so stuff like that. So like it opens up way more doors, but like it also like makes it harder to find like a placement specific for you. So Handshake would be the best resource, as well as the careers team. Like I remember Seamus helped me so much trying to get the placement I'm in now. He like really helped me far. So always available for your careers team.
That's great, thank you. And I'm just going to pick up actually on something, I think it was in your first answer when you were just introducing yourself. And you'd said about, you were quite late in getting this, but actually it was your networks that helped you to identify the placement that you have at the minute. So I think that's a key opportunity for any of our students too. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. So if you have networks, either already working for companies or, even within the university that could help you, do rely upon them. Okay, because sometimes those opportunities can just appear out of nowhere for you. All right, so brilliant. Thanks very much, Niall. And then moving on then, what I would say is that resilience is one of those key skills that you need to have when you're applying for a job. So whether it's a part-time job, a graduate job, a placement, whatever that might be. So for our panel, I just wanted to ask, in terms of dealing with sort of setbacks or rejections, could you maybe tell our students how you manage to stay positive and focused? And we will start with, who will start with? Let's say, Deneen, do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, hi. So how I kind of dealt with it, to be honest, I do struggle with it. I take it nearly as in a personal attack on me, which you really shouldn't, because at the end of the day, they don't know you. Which is, I always think, well, if they knew me, they would have hired me, which is probably a wee bit big on myself, but who knows? You always need to kind of take that positive kind of look on it. They're only judging you from a piece of paper or maybe 20 minutes in an interview. And sometimes you can get too nervous and you don't really know what to say. So don't worry about it. Brush yourself off and go for the next one, because if it's meant for you, it won't pass you. And that's always what I say to myself.
No, that's great. Thank you. And, it is really difficult, isn't it, not to take it as a personal attack? And especially if you do get multiple sort of rejections or setbacks in a row. But I think, just what you're saying is just keep the head up and keep going, plow on, and eventually something will come around. That's brilliant. Let's see, Niall, will we go to you for this one?
Yeah, setbacks, like they really like they can mess you up, I guess. But like when I was like applying at the start, I applied for like one placement and then I just never bothered trying again. Basically, I was like, there's no point. One didn't want me, none of them would want me. So I just stopped trying. And Aoife sent me this placement for Ulster. And I was like, oh, what's the point in even trying for that one? But then she made me basically put me straight down to it and was like, you're doing this placement right now. So I put my CV into, well, she like told me to go into the careers to help me apply for this placement. So I went on to Seamus and put my CV in, and he got me on like a Teams call and got me through it. And then I went into the interview and like it went really well. And then the next day I got the placement. So just keep trying and just know that like always your career team is like always there for you no matter what. So
that's brilliant. Thanks very much, Niall. And I think it is very easy to just give up, especially if it's maybe not a compulsory placement year and you know that you can go on into final year. But even having the support of friends and even family members, and knowing that, you know, you have careers team here in the university as well. So if you're ever having that wee bit of self-doubt, just make sure that you come and speak to somebody, okay? So just giving another little plug out for our services there, but you know, it is important to have a support network around you as well to help you to overcome and be a wee bit more resilient. So that's brilliant, thank you. Catherine?
Yeah, so like I was saying, I first started applying for placements probably 6.5 years ago at this stage, and no lie, I can still remember the feeling I got when I got that first rejection email. And I remember it was Red Bull Vehicle Dynamics, and that is 6.5 years ago, and I still remember that pain. It gets easier, and like everyone else is saying, it's so good even now to hear that everyone else felt the same. It's not personal. You just have to keep going. And unfortunately, what I've realized here is we can get, for placements, I think we got close to 1,000, if not more than 1,000 applicants. They didn't read them all, which is horrible, and I don't like it. So they could have just missed you. A company can just miss you by the sheer volume they have. But also as well, what I realize as well, and from I've been sitting in interviews and different things here for placements, is you might be the best student on paper for that job, but if you just don't fit the company, it's not going to work. And that's not against you or your skill set or anything. It's just not the right thing. And no one wants to be sitting miserable for a year or longer if it's for a grad job, you know. So you just have to think, it was meant to be, that's it. There was a reason for it. There's loads more out there. We'll get something. Difficult to do, yes. You just have to keep that up and keep thinking that. Yeah.
That's great. Thanks very much. And as you say, you know, you can be a really fantastic student and you can have, you know, a really brilliant, fantastic CV, but sometimes it's maybe just not the right fit for you. And it might just be that somebody else did have, you know, maybe a different sort of style, or you know, a different way of presenting themselves, and they seem to be a better fit for that job. So that's great. Another, just dust ourselves off and keep plowing through. But I think that is sort of a general theme here. It's just to know that everybody is in the same boat or has been in the same boat, and that you're not alone in, you know, sort of receiving these setbacks. And Abigail, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, no, as everyone's kind of touched on it, but like you feel sorry for yourself. Like I hold my hands up and say that I had to cry definitely in the first few. I think how a day I was thinking, oh, I'm just pure rubbish. But as Catherine was saying, over time it does get easier. You don't take it personally. One of the things I actually had noted was, you know, talk to your friends and family, as you were saying, you know, that support network. They're not going to be disappointed in you. Like in your head, you have a big dump being the big disappointment and everything. But they're not. They're going to tell you to pick yourself back up, and that, you know, it's only one job application and it's not the end of the world. And in work and at home life, I have adopted this new saying now, and it's completely unprofessional, but it's just not that deep. Like, it's just another one will come. Like, as all the cliche things, what's meant for you won't go by you. But like, you really do have to start believing in it, because you know that whole disappointment in yourself and self-doubt will creep in, and you just have to fight it and keep going. And like, the reason why I kept going was like, I was proving myself wrong. I was just like, no, like, you're not a disappointment for not getting a job straight out of university. Like, you know, you're adapted to the situation. So my key thing to take away: don't be so hard on yourself. If you're really, really struggling with it and it's really getting you down, take a wee breather. And once you figure out it, you get back into the job search too. But don't take too long, because then fear comes. So as I say, roundabouts.
Sorry, I couldn't get my microphone off there. That's great. Thanks very much, Abigail. So yeah, you know, I see lots of students coming through our doors, you know, and they are very disappointing, you know, and it's really understandable, because you put your heart and soul into getting, you know, the CV ready and getting your covering letter and maybe doing a wee bit of interview prep beforehand, and then you get this sort of Dear John rejection letter. So you know, as I say, do try to keep your spirits up when it comes to that. Be resilient, okay, because it is a long haul, you know, to get the job. It's very few people that I would know that, you know, apply for placement and get it first time round, or apply for a graduate job and, you know, and again get it first time round. So, you know, it does take a wee bit of time, a wee bit of effort. So just stick at it and know that everybody will be successful. We all do end up successful in the end, okay? And then I'm just going to, final question then for our panel. You'll be glad to know you'll be sick talking at this point. So just as a takeaway from today's conversation, okay, what would be your top tip or tips, if you've got more than one, for our students in terms of finding and securing those graduate or placement opportunities? And Abigail, I'll maybe start with you because I know you need to jump off the call soon, okay?
Yeah, right, the joys. Key things that I would definitely take away is exert every option. You don't have to do it alone. Use Honeycomb, use Abacus, use those job recruiters, use LinkedIn. As you say, you've got the employment team there as well. They will help you and support you through everything. But also, I think just don't be so hard on yourself. Whenever you come out of university, I was the same. Like, I had this big, like, the round was just getting quicker and quicker. Take a breather, figure out what you kind of want to do. It's not this rush just to get a job and then you don't like it. So definitely utilize everything, be resilient, and just keep going. Like, if you found me 2 years ago, I'd be where I am now, sitting back in university, I'd have left. So yeah, it really is just a trusted process, and don't be so hard on yourself. It will come to. And on that, I actually do. I'll nip off. But thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, do give me a shout on LinkedIn or anything. But yeah, thank you so much for your time and have a lovely day.
Thanks so much for joining us, Abigail. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye now. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Sorry, everybody. So Abigail's just going into a class now this afternoon, so she's had to leave us. So we'll maybe move on. Maybe Niall, do you have any top tips or a tip that you could give to everybody on the call?
Yeah. When you're going through each placement, like and getting the rejection back, sometimes they can like give you like feedback back. Sometimes like I did one for the HSC and they gave me feedback on like the interview that I did. So like I went through that and like looked at like the feedback they were giving me and like how I could like make it better for the next interview I ever did. So that was like great that they did that for me. There's also like whenever you're like, because I was doing it with friends with placement, whenever we were like on handshake, we were looking for each other as well. So like when we were going through that, we'd be like, this one would be better for you, because sometimes they think that they would have like more, they know more about you than you know about more about yourself. So I would do that as well, and just make sure you avail of your careers team, because I never did before, and like for this placement I did, and they helped me so much.
That's great. Thanks very much, Niall. And I think that your first point there was really a good valid point as well. Ask for feedback. Okay, so if you do get sort of a rejection letter or that you haven't been successful, always ask for feedback. Now, not every company will give, extensive feedback that you can work on, but, even the smallest nugget of information can help you improve for the next time round. So that's a really good tip. Thank you. Let's see, Deneen.
So mine would probably surround more of the interview. Make sure you do interview prep, because nothing worse than them asking you a question and you have no answer whatsoever. Like, a question that you normally get asked would be, give me 3 things that your skills that you have, and then they throw a spanner in the works and then say, give me one thing that you can work on. And it's really hard to say something that you need to work on but be positive about it, because you always have to project such a positive image of yourself in interview. My way of dealing with that would kind of be, say something that you are currently working on as a skill, like say, this is the skill that I'm struggling with, but this is how I'm trying to improve it this year, something like that. But have those kind of questions ready, those kind of obvious run-of-the-mill kind of interview questions. I'm pretty sure Ulster offer an interview skills thing. I think it's with Edge. So I definitely avail of that. Because there's nothing more nerve-wracking than an interview, and even more nerve-wracking than when they ask you a question and you just do, the big eyes. But yeah, definitely avail of anything offered by the careers team. Use Handshake, LinkedIn as well. It's always really helpful. Make sure you have a good digital footprint on your LinkedIn, so people can kind of flick through. It's because it's another way that they can kind of check up and see what you're kind of doing in your uni and things, and it's another way to appeal to a business. So definitely utilize all those things.
That's great, yeah. And as Deneen was saying there, interview preparation is really vital whenever you want to be successful in securing those roles. But we do have, if you go to the Employability and Careers website, we have Interview 360, which is an online mock interview platform. So definitely all of our students can avail of that. And likewise, if you don't really want to do it online, we're more than happy to run through a mock interview one of the employability advisors. So again, you can just set up an appointment or contact us directly. So that's brilliant. Thanks for those tips, Deneen. And Catherine then.
Yeah, so I have two, if that's all right. One is for when you're in the searching stage, and I think this goes for placement and graduate, is I used to tailor my CV and cover letter to each job or each company. But when you're changing it constantly, you might forget what you say. I used to save a folder with each job I applied to, my CV that I sent them, the cover letter that I sent them, and also a lot of companies used to ask like a form like fill out. It would ask you a load of questions and you'd have to answer it. I would take a copy of all those answers that I give them so that I could, if I got through to the interview stage, that I would have them to hand and know what I said, because you can bet that the company will have them. So I used to just have it like that, a record of everything that I sent. So if I got an interview, knew what to say. The other one then I would say is if you do get into a job or a placement and it's not what you want, because this happened to me. I got a design job, hated it, did not like it, realised it wasn't for me. But I was working with other departments, I seen what other people do, and I was like, I like that. So I went over and asked, can I try this for a day or 2 days, or sit with you and shadow you? And that's how I got then the job I'm in now. And then even with that, we have people who started off as grad here in design and now they've moved over to program management. Or, you know, just because you hate that little job niche you're in doesn't destroy your whole career. You can switch, you can move. It is not the end of the world. If you end up not liking it, it's all a good experience and you might just find what you do like or what you think you'll like. So
That's great. That's really good advice there as well. Just on the first one, you talked about, you know, tailoring the CV and the covering letter, and that is one of the key things that you need to be doing. But as you say, when you start applying for multiple placements or multiple graduate opportunities, you'll end up with lots of variations of your CV, lots of different covering letters. So yes, that's another tip I would give as well, is to save a file for each job, because part of the preparation for interview is reviewing all of that information all over again and really getting prepped for that particular role. So that was great. And then, as you say, you know, don't be disheartened that you've given something a go and it's just not what you thought it would be, or that you're just not enjoying it, because as you've learned, you know, you can see you're inside that business, you can see different areas, and there's ways and means of being able to maneuver and change your career as you go forward. So that's great. So yes, that's the end of me quizzing you. You'll be glad to know. We do only have a couple of students on the call with us, but does anybody have any questions that you would like to ask our panel? As I say, feel free to turn your microphone on and ask those questions, or you could use the chat box. May not have any just because there's only a couple of students. I don't think so. Okay, well, I'm just gonna, I have a wee slide just to share here at the end. I'm just gonna put that up, and it's really just, it's more for the students who are on the call with us here. Oh, let's see, we do have a question grid. So Deneen, are you still continuing your vintage clothing business? Let's see, sorry, what does that say? As a side hustle since you've applied to your graduate job?
Yeah, so I actually have that as my part-time job at the minute. So I have my website. I'll plug myself here. I have my wee website. So I'm Southside Retail .co.uk, and then yeah, I do pop-ups in the Coleraine campus, and then I do a couple in Belfast campus as well. So yeah, I just kind of use that as my my part-time job, but it really helped me get the job, I think. It really makes people's eyes look up. Donna always said, what's the thing that makes you stand out? And I feel like me having my own business really helped me do that. I'm currently doing my tax return for the first time, so all very nerve-wracking, but getting there anyway with it. And yeah, so I'm still keeping it going as a wee side hustle, but I don't know if I'll keep that alongside my grad job or not, how that will kind of work. I'd say the business will go before the grad job will go, you know.
That's great. Well, it's always good to have something, you know, that you're interested in as well. You know, it keeps it nice and fresh for you. So as you say, just see how you get on with the graduate job, and if that might allow time for it, maybe to continue. But if not, you might need
definitely.
to.
I think the career comes first.
We'll actually have a look on your website as well, Deneen. Have a wee look and see what's there. That's brilliant. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so as I say, this little slide, this is really just to highlight to students that we've developed a new EDGE activity, and it's called Recruitment Ready. So this is all about helping you to get as prepared as possible when you're applying for internships, placements, graduate opportunities. And what we're hoping is that it'll make you or help you to feel more confident, and maybe to be a bit more competitive whenever you are starting to apply, and enhancing your chances of success. So it really is like a tailored activity. So what we will do is to have an initial one-to-one coaching session with all of the students who register, and then we'll do a bit of a tailored plan of what you need to do, and that might involve, you know, becoming familiar with maybe psychometric tests, or understanding what makes a good CV and how to tailor that, and maybe some prep for job interviews. But I've got the slide up here. Feel free to go to the EDGE webpage and have a look at that. And it's just been launched this week. So it's a nice new fresh activity, and hopefully you'll see the results of that if you are doing your placement or graduate job search.